हाँ जी, क्या बोल?
चल रहा है मेरे सुनाई।
ओ हम लोगों के नहीं, हम लोगों से भागते हो।
च्यवनप्राश क्या लेते हो?
90
क्या होता है?
सोहा जी आप
यहाँ पे लेफ्ट में मैडम यहाँ पर सोहा जी यहाँ पे मैम यहाँ
सारे मेरा फ्लैश।
सोहा जी
मैम थोड़ा टर्न हाँ बस यार देखिए
मैम योर लेफ्ट साइड।
हाथ पीछे ना शिवा।
सोहा जी सेंटर प्लीज।
कौन मैम यहाँ
ये भाई थोड़ा पीछे आओ ना, बहुत आगे।
मैम दिसवे सोहा मैम दिसवे
सोहा मैम।
Sorry.
एक्सक्यूज मी। ओ भाई साहब आ जाओ पीछे।
एक मिनट मैम
सोहा जी वेट वेट।
मैम यहाँ देखिए
सोहा जी यहाँ पे।
मैम यहाँ
Thank you.
यार मला मोबाईल पण काढायचा होता
आज जाऊन पण आपण
बोलता ना घे ना
Plastic soldiers.
Okay, perfect. A very, very warm welcome to all our friends here from the media. Super, super excited to welcome you all at this beautiful venue. I think today is a very special day. It's the 1st of March and we are kickstarting the International Women's Day month with the theme being Embrace Equity. And what better way to do it than sit with some amazing, wonderful women here who have in different ways inspired me as a woman, and I'm sure as you hear more from them today, it will be a completely different experience for all of you too. I'm going to be your host today and the moderator of this panel discussion. My name is Prasidha Menon. I head communications for Airbnb across India and Southeast Asia. I love traveling and love speaking with inspirational women. So super excited for today. Before we get on to introducing the panelists, all of whom you already know, I'm going to definitely set some house rules. Please do put your mobile phones on silent. Please do, after the session, meet us, engage with us so that this conversation is a lot more interactive and fruitful. The Wi-Fi password for the venue is Kathiawati 1434, if I've got that right. Yeah, it is 1434. And the user ID is KCH Art. So in case you're not finding network here, it's KCH Art. It's Kathivada, 1434. That's KATHIWADA 1434, all caps. I'll repeat it one more time. The user ID is KCH Art, ART, and the password is KATHIWADA 1434, all caps. So yeah, I'm going to start with a quick introduction to our amazing panel. We have with us Soha Ali Khan, actor and author. I think you all know enough about her in terms of her acting career, but what I do want to share with all of you is the fact that she has been actively advocating and supporting education for girls. She's been working in the field of healthcare and better facilities for women, and I'm sure we'll hear a lot more from her around that. I think it's just very interesting to also follow her on Instagram and see wonderful stories with her family, her lovely daughter, and I think the role she's playing as a mommy, while of course setting very high standards for all of us women to stay healthy and to pursue our passions. We also have with us Mishra, again somebody you all know. I'm I'm sure you have all, danced to some of her very, very famous numbers and also listened to some soothing ones while enjoying a cup of coffee or your choice of beverage. And she's of course a singer and also a songwriter who has definitely been breaking some stereotypes in the industry. I interestingly Googled this morning to check how many songwriters, women songwriters we have in India, and the number was disappointing to say the least. I'm so happy that she's doing something in this space, and she started at the age of 13, so we'll hear more from her on that. And then we have with us Kirti. Kirti is an entrepreneur and co-founder of Lean Love, a brand which works in the fashion technology space. I think I knew Kirti more from her previous role at Okai, this interesting fashion brand that she was working with, and some really lovely clothes made by artisans. Extremely passionate about supporting women, creating more opportunities, and now I'm very curious to know that as a co-founder of Lean Love, what are the kind of situations she's dealing with, so we'll speak more about that. And last but not the least, I have a member of our family, the Airbnb family. I have with us Kakuli Banerjee. She is a self-taught architect, founder of People for Pondicherry's Heritage. She's been regularly hosting a ton of single women who have, been to more than 20 listings, I think, on Airbnb. And she employs almost 90% of women as her staff and has been also involved in the rehabilitation of marginalized women in Rajasthan through a non-profit. So, a lot of interesting stories coming up. I'm excited to do these conversations. I hope you two are. In terms of the discussion today, we split it into approximately like 3 segments. We'll talk a little bit about your journey, hear more from you on embracing equity and kind of pursuing inclusivity, which are also themes for this year's International Women's Day. And then because we are Airbnb and we love travel, we'd love to hear from you a little bit about your travel journeys and interesting experiences, tips, things that I'm sure everybody in the audience is going to benefit. So yeah, excited for that. I hope audience you're all very, very excited. You can hear us well. And yeah, we will get started. Alright, so in terms of the first question, I'm going to come to you. So I think you've had a wonderful journey in the industry. I think it's been almost 20 years, 2004 debut from my research. So it's been a long journey. You also kind of forayed into OTT recently. So I would love to hear a little bit about your journey and, as a woman, what were the challenges you faced and what are the kind of changes you've observed over the years in terms of, the kind of roles women get or kind of opportunities you get now?
Firstly, hi. It has been 20 years probably, yes. I think that cinema is a wonderful place and it has a profound influence on society. Cinema tends to reflect what one sees. It can also push the agenda a little bit. I feel like we're not doing that enough. We're not really pushing the status quo. We're giving people more or less what they're comfortable watching. There are a few exceptions, and more recently I've worked with people like Amazon. I've worked with Abidancia as a production firm, and they very actively support women. They in fact make it a policy to employ 50% women, behind the screens. And I think that when we were promoting the last series that I did, Mashash, I said, why do we need to say that this is a women show? Because aren't we alienating half the audience as a result? Shouldn't we just say it's a good show? And they said, we're not there yet. We still need to fight. We need to speak. I understand I personally come from a position of incredible privilege. There was no distinction made between me and my brother when it came to education, when it came to the things that we dreamed about and that we wanted to aspire to become. But I understand that that's also a fraction of certainly women in India. So I feel that we've come a long way, of course. I, for example, am very grateful for the fact that as a woman in her 40s, I'm employed. Because perhaps a generation ago, they wouldn't know where to put me. You're usually the heroine or you're the hero's mother. And then when you turn 40, they're like, why don't you just do something else for 10, 15 years? And then you can play the hero's mother. But now, as you can see, and I owe that a lot to, again, perhaps OTT, I can see myself being represented on screen. So I feel that we've come a long way. again, we're seeing cinematographers, we're seeing lyricists, we're seeing people who are not typically in costume and makeup, which has usually been the women's domain in the past. My sound engineer was a woman in my last project, which was, you know, a first for me. I understand also that this just, for a lot of people, it's inconvenient to work with women when it comes to shooting and outdoors, because a woman will then, you'll have to get another hotel room for her because she can't share with the boys. You'll have to get different bathroom facilities. You have to make sure that she gets home safely when you're shooting at night. But if we normalize these things and if we really work together to make this a policy, then it won't be so inconvenient. When it's not just the odd woman on set, but they're making up half that number at least, then it won't be inconvenient and it will become the norm. And I think one of the best things is that when you employ women in positions of power as heads of department, they will then work with women and employ more women. And I see that change slowly coming. But again, I feel like we're just scratching the surface and we have a very long way to go. There continues to be a lot of glamorization of women, a lot of women, you know, especially when it comes to, you know, theaters, not really representing a more comprehensive perspective on what a woman does in terms of her screen time, whether it's ads, whether it's media, whether it's news. You know, a lot of the women that you see in news are sort of rape victims. You know, so we really need to change that perception. I think we're getting there, and I'm very, very positive about the future. And I think if we continue to meet like this and talk and even speak for women who don't have voices themselves, then we will get there.
Right. I mean, so agree with you because I feel like, you know, back in the day when we were sitting and thinking of putting this panel together, like one of my questions was why do we do this only around Women's Day? Like, you know, we should be celebrating women every day. And when you also look at it from a different criticism, you realize that maybe for women like us here, you are right, you come from a certain privilege, you got some opportunities, and therefore we are where we are today. But for a lot of other women, it's like a reminder. It's a reminder to like put your life on the list, pursue your passions. And I think conversations like this act as such a reminder. And I think towards the end of this panel, as we reach out to more people through our social or through our friends social media, I think if we even able to influence one person or a certain number of people to think differently, I think that's going to be a big one for us. Thank you, Soha. That was very insightful and interesting to learn for us being people who just watch you from a distance and on screens. Please, I want to come to you. I think you also had a very interesting journey. You started at the age of 13. You've been in the US and then you moved here and then you had your big moment of fame and now you've become this huge social media star as well. There's just so much happening. But I'm sure it would not have been a journey which is as smooth as it looks on Instagram. So we'd just love to know a little bit from you on, how has the journey been for you and how has it influenced your creative music making process and just you as a person?
Yeah, I think a couple of different things. When I came in here to the industry, I didn't know anything. It happened at me because the internet chose me and I was given this massive opportunity to step outside of my bedroom and make music professionally. So because I didn't expect what was going to happen, I wasn't prepared and I wasn't given the devices to understand how the greater, male-led industry works in music. Because frankly, in terms of composition, lyrics, singing, all of your most powerful people in the room are always men. Record label heads, everybody in the room, engineers, PR, everyone in the mechanism is about 85, 90, if not more, percent male. So I wasn't prepared to see so few women in positions of power, and I didn't know who I could make an ally out of. But I was very lucky that the way I was brought into the industry was by women. So it's my luck that I was introduced to the industry by Ria and Sonam. And then it's again my luck that the people that ended up representing me, my agency, was female-led and entirely staffed by women, which was Matrix at the time. And so that gave me an insulation from what I feel like if I had come, and had to figure out agents and everything else, the business side of things myself, I would have run into a lot more trouble. Because I think the wonderful thing is that women will always help women, and we are great protectors of each other. So what I would not have been offered as insight independently, I got to have just from the inside, being like, these are places to avoid. These are not the greatest people. They don't pay so well. This is a session that's wasted time. You know, put your efforts here, work with other women, meet other women that are composers and writers. So I think I was very lucky that my worldview in this industry was shaped by such powerful women, all at the top of their games individually. But yeah, it's an eye-opener when you come in here and you see people just, I mean, I've had to fight for song credits that fights I've lost for songs I've written that have had to have, you know, the male composer's name listed. And when I said I wrote half the song, I've been met with, well, he's the senior composer, so he won't share the credit. Either you can choose to give up the song and not have it released and we'll replace your voice. But I was like, well, then you can't replace my composition. Like, well, we'll just rewrite the portion that you did and hand it all entirely over to him. I was like, you're willing to sacrifice good work at the cost of just naming a woman who was young and in the room and capable enough to be a co-writer. So it is, I mean, like, you run into these moments that you're like, this is just so deeply insulting, but is it worth losing the opportunity? And sometimes you do cave into that because you contextualize it within the greater part of your career. And you say, okay, you know, swallow your ego. Although it's really not swallowing your ego, it's just giving into a system that's built against us. And then sometimes you draw a hard line and you make a lot of enemies. And I kid you not, every time I've drawn this line, 3 years later, everybody else catches up. Go, oh, that guy sucked to work with. I was like, really? But you wouldn't? So I was, great, thank you for ignoring what I said. And I'm glad you got to figure it out on your own several years later. But it is like that. I think, you know, it's hard to be in a room full of men all the time. Most of our meetings, you know, it's that typical like board meeting that's, you know, a 12, 16 seater and there's 2 women or just me in the room. And you get drowned out and you have her opinion, you know, squashed a lot of times. You just have to, you know, go for it, make some enemies, and talk the talk and walk the walk, and hope it all falls into place.
Yeah. And I know it can be extremely difficult. I mean, in my journey, I've been in these meeting rooms full of men, and sometimes when we're bringing in a perspective, which is, again,